What's up, guys? Today is going to be a little bit of a different episode than what we usually do. For those of you who are familiar with the show, this is a twice a week soccer unboxing channel where I unbox pretty much anything soccer cards. So you've got hobby boxes, blaster boxes, finds that I get on eBay and whatnot. But today's going to be a little different. I'm not going to do any of my eBay or whatnot finds, just because I don't know. I feel like it's almost like it needs to be like a story time or to kind of give a little bit of a helping hand or words of advice for people who are headed to their first ever card show. Just recently, I headed out there to the Dallas card show. It was a lot of fun. I went with brother, father, all that type of stuff. So it was a good time with the family. And it's my third time going to a big card show like that, like the Dallas card show. And I tell you, I picked up a few tricks, or I wouldn't even call them tricks, but just even words of advice that I think will help you if you're navigating your first ever card expo or card meetup. Some are obviously larger than others. So some of these, I guess, these little words of advice work better at larger card shows than a smaller card show. But, I still think they're important to know nonetheless. And a few items of housekeeping as I kind of jump into our topic today. I did go ahead and create an Instagram page. Yes, that's right. Finally, after many people had asked there, I've created an Instagram page. So, you could look at all the cards I upload there. If you haven't seen all of the videos, the 60 some odd videos I've created before in the past, you can kind of go ahead and get caught up there. Also, maybe I'll sell cards through Instagram too. Maybe, just posting them on Instagram will be easier and more of an incentive for me to go ahead and sell cards than doing it through eBay. As always, guys, I'm going to have my eBay and whatnot store here linked in the description below. And if you like the content that I produce today and you like the channel, there's a few things that I ask you to do to support me. I ask that you subscribe on YouTube so you get updates and notifications anytime I go and upload a video, and also that you go ahead and like the video there because, if you like the video, first off, it helps the algorithm. Second off, it lets me know that you like the content that I'm producing. I'll say for those, jumping into our topic today, that are headed maybe to your first ever card show or card expo, I kind of have a few words of advice from the buying standpoint as well as the selling standpoint. For those who are unfamiliar, the Dallas card show, very big card show. It's something like 700 tables, and it's held like in a convention center. Frankie Ribs. It's held in a convention center there in It's held in Convention Center in Dallas. Huge venue. It's one that a lot of, card collectors go to. It's not as big as the Nationals, but I'd say it's, one of the larger ones that are out there. From the buyer's standpoint, I tell you, when you're going around and looking at tables, it's almost a requirement anytime that you're looking at cards. Doesn't matter what the price is that, the seller mentions first to you. You always need to ask, and I mean always, is there any wiggle room on that? And it doesn't come off as intrusive. You don't know how low the person's willing to go on that card unless really you ask. A rookie mistake I made, I think at the first show I went to, I bought something at the sticker price. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, you never buy something at sticker price. These guys come to shows, they pay a fee to have a table, and they're there all weekend. They're there to sell their cards, right? They're there to sell their merchandise. If they're not selling their merchandise, they're not even breaking even. So always ask for wiggle room. I tell you, 99% of the time, the seller can go ahead and come down a little bit off of that sticker price. So don't make the mistakes that I made. Casemiro, the first time I ever went to a card show, because, you'll look back on it and kind of kick yourself. The item I'll say that also is a big benefit for you. You have to use some sort of comp system in order to make sure that you're not overpaying for a card price. That's also very important. Ones that people like a lot for slabs, right? So cards that are graded. Vinicius, that's nice. And Joao Felix. One that they'll use is called Alt. You can go ahead and take a picture of the slab and it pulls it up through a database. And it's pretty accurate. It's not 100%, but it's pretty accurate, and it will tell you what that card or versions of that card have sold for in the past and what their most recent sales were and how frequently they're selling. So like from that perspective, it kind of gives you a good knowledge and understanding of, okay, how hot is this card? Is this a card that has a lot of sales, in the last, 12 months? Or is this a card that could sit for a while? Is this a card that will take me a while to sell if you're looking to try to flip a profit? Because there are people who go to these events trying to go ahead and execute arbitrage. They're trying to buy cards at a cheaper price point than what they should be valued at, and then they're looking to sell them on their own. I mean, that's kind of like the hobby, right? You want to collect cards that you like, but also you can flip a few cards to support your habit. So alt is very good if you're using, a slab or anything like that. They'll give you pretty good information. Now, another one for ones that are not a slab, here's another one of Vinicius, is 130 Point. They're a good one online. You can also check like your eBay sales list. Ooh, look at that Courtois. You can also check like an eBay prior sold. The other thing about 130 Point that's really, really, I think, beneficial is even if it sells for at a reduced price than maybe what the buy now is listed for on eBay, 130 Point will let you know what that reduced price was that it sold for. Other things that I think are very important if you're going to be buying at a card show, there are different types of sellers. And I'll say this because it's important for you to kind of take note too. Some sellers don't actually want to work with a buyer. And some sellers are looking to make the deal, right? Because they understand a little bit of the game. They understand the economies of speed. If I could sell cards and make a 15% rate of return and make maybe $1,000 a day, it's better than me making a 25% rate of return and only making $400 in profit. So, some sellers understand that. Some sellers don't. But, that kind of ties back into the if there's any wiggle room question that you ask. Oh my gosh, Martinelli rookie. This is a nice one. Too bad that he's really struggled here this year. Drewsbury Hall, Harry Kane. Okay, not too bad. But that kind of ties back in, though, with is there any wiggle room? Because if you ask somebody immediately, hey, how much wiggle room is there? That's kind of going to give you the feeling of, will this seller work with me or not? If they're not willing to work with you, I'm gonna give you a word of advice. Unless it's a card that you never see and you want very, very, very badly, just move right along, because all you're going to do is waste time. You're going to get like, oh man, I wish you would come down $15, $20 on that card. But if they're tough to make a deal with, they're not going to bend very often. But some people will be willing to make deals. Some people understand that they're in the business of selling cards, but some people don't mind holding on to them. So I don't blame them. But that question is a very important one for that reason. The other thing I'll mention here too, always ask. And I mean, always ask what the price is. If you have any interest in that card at all. And I'll kind of give you an example. One of the cards that's very hot right now, at least for soccer, is Lamine Yamal. Very hot player, very young, very talented, great Euros, fantastic player for Barcelona. His card prices are crazy high right now. And a gentleman, a very nice gentleman who we've met named Michael, he had a 10 gem mint dual autograph, a rookie auto, 10 gem mint, numbered to 10 of Lamine Yamal and Lopez. I can't remember his name. Some Lopez kid for Fermin Lopez, I believe it is, for Barcelona. So don't kill me if I get it wrong. But Lopez and Lamine Yamal on this dual autograph card. Now, just because of the nature of the card, I thought to myself, wow, this has to be miles outside of my price range. I think Lamine Yamal's card prices are extremely overvalued at the moment. It's the reason you won't see me unboxing a lot of Lamine Yamal cards at this time period. But, I didn't even bother asking him because I feel like it was going to be so high of a card price. Later on that weekend, he sold the card, and the unfortunate thing was he sold it well underneath what the con price was, and he's such a nice guy. Kind of felt a little bad for him. But, I mean, he sold the card for $600 in cash, and I think it was, he mentioned like maybe $700 in card value. Now, I looked at the card value he had, probably wasn't $700 worth of card value. And, I mean, Lamine Yamal, just, do me a favor and look at the price at the time period this video was made. I'm recording this in middle of November. I mean, a Lamine Yamal rookie autograph number to 10, and I get it, there's another auto on that card, but still, it's a rookie autograph, number to 10, 10-gem mint, should be selling for more than $1,300 every single day of the week. I don't care who they put on, the autograph with them, but it's one of those things where it doesn't hurt to ask. And that's one of those, if I had asked him and he said, hey, I'm looking for $1,200 for this card, I would have jumped all over that, because the value of that is, way more valuable than the $1,300, the $600 in cash, and maybe the $700 in card value. So the lesson being from that is always, always, always ask. And the other item too that I'd say is the last one I think that's important if you're going to be buying at one of these card shows is, if you notice that you go to purchase a card or you're interested in a card and it's a rare card, right? There's not necessarily a lot of interest and intrigue behind the card, but it has value. And let's say it's more of like a vintage card, or it's a card from, like, for mine, it's like the 2014 Panini Prism World Cup cards. They have a lot of value. They don't necessarily have a lot of interest on day-to-day purchases, right? Everybody in soccer is looking for Yamal. Everybody in soccer is looking for Cristiano, Messi, Pele, etc. They're not looking for an obscure name in the 2014 Panini Prism World Cup set. And, I had one to where I purchased a 10-gem mint Jackson card. And I kind of thought to myself, I asked originally when the show started how much these sellers were looking for and if there's any wiggle room. They said, after much negotiating, that the lowest they can go was, hey, we can only go down to $250. Again, more than what I was willing to pay for that specific card. So I had to walk. I walked away. And the card show is so large, I don't really remember one interaction they had with a buyer when there's hundreds or thousands of people looking to buy over that weekend. So I came back on the last day. I just stopped by. I knew I wanted to go by and ask them a question because I knew probably the card wasn't going to sell at that price point. And I went by and just asked, and I played a little dumb. I was like, hey, what are you guys looking for that card? But, the card price had dropped down from, they were looking for $250. Ooh, nice little Pedri here on the Purple Mojo. But they were looking for $250. And then when I talked to them the last day of the show, because again, some of these people, they're looking to sell their cards. They're not looking to hold on to them. They dropped it down to $175. I was like, great. That's sometimes what you have to be willing to do. You sometimes have to be willing to walk away if it's a card that you feel confident is like, they're not going to have 15 people coming up to ask about this card every 30 minutes. I can maybe walk away and see if I can get this on the last day at a cheaper price. Now, the risk that you run with that is, hey, if they do sell the card, well, you're kind of SOL, is the unfortunate part about it. But those are what they say are the important things if you are a buyer at one of these, trading card shows or one of these card expos. Now, if you're a seller, this is important there too. I carried around, well, first off, if you have slabs, Nico Williams, holy crap, guys. That's a big one right there on the hollow for Nico Williams. If you have a whole bunch of these like Zion cases or like these slab boxes to where you can carry all your cards, take a word of advice. Bring some sort of apparatus that allows you to roll them on the ground. If you're out on the floor for, I don't know, 6-7 hours in a day, you're going to get tired if you're carrying around hundreds of cards on your arms and on your shoulders. So bring yourself some sort of apparatus. Take it from the word from the wise. I had 4 Zion cases I was walking around with, but I put it into a child carrying case that doubles, for family vacations as well. But yes, definitely make sure you bring some sort of apparatus to make it easier on you so you don't get so tired and burned out earlier on in the trip. Okay, nothing on the back. But have your comps ready. That is so unbelievably important. You need to understand when you go there, okay, what are these cards on average selling for? What can I sell these for where they're going to be near the comp price? Now, that was one of the big no-nos that I didn't do this much. Oh, Joao Felix here on the hollow. That was one of the ones with the silver on the back. That was something I didn't do going to the card show this time most recently here. I did not go ahead and have my comps ready, and all weekend long, I was kicking myself with how much time I wasted because of my inefficiency. So learn from my mistakes. Make sure you have your comps ready if you are looking to sell, or at least a range of what your comps should be. The other item I'll tell you here, and it kind of goes hand in hand, when you're at a card show, don't get greedy. Don't get greedy. And I feel like I have to tell you this because it's so easy to get greedy, where you think to yourself, hey, I purchased this card at 50 bucks, but now I'm showing the most recent comps are selling at 100. Well, I want exactly 100 for that card price. Now, the thing I'll mention to you is you have to take the mindset of, even if I sell it for 75, it's not too much underneath what the comp is. I still make my profit. And I also don't pay any sort of fee on like a selling website. I don't have to pay an eBay fee. I don't have to pay to ship it. I don't have to do all these items that would usually cost me money. I just get to hand the card over to the person and I get the money right there, cash money. So again, don't get greedy. Take your profit when you have it. And that's what I feel like a lot of people who go to these card shows and they sell, they kind of forget sometimes. At the end of the show, they're kind of scrambling to make sales, but don't be greedy. That's the most important one. Another item that I think is important is don't let a small difference or a small portion of money ruin a deal. And this kind of ties in with the don't get greedy portion. If you have a lot that you're selling of cards, right? You're going to have some cards that maybe you have earned a lot on, maybe some cards that you missed on. You know, you're going to have some of that just in collecting cards if you collect enough of them. Don't let a small portion get in the way of the deal. Like, for example, I offloaded a good chunk of cards. I sold this most recent card show a little over $5,800 in cards. And there was a deal we were working out with a nice gentleman who he wanted to purchase at $2,500. I was looking for $2,600. We worked it up to $2,550, and you know, the comp prices and what the price I could have sold all those cards for were a lot higher if I sold them on an individual basis. But again, you kind of have to use your discretion, right? Don't get greedy. Don't let $50 ruin the deal. You know, when he's telling you, hey, you know, I'm going to walk away from the deal if we don't do $2,550. Think about it for a second and say, let's make the deal happen. You don't want to lose the deal and lose all the work and the time you put in if you're close over 50 bucks on a, you know, $2,500 deal, if that makes sense. Something else that's also important is don't let somebody wear you down. You know, if you are off and you're not close on the price, don't let somebody just badger you to death where it's like, oh man, I guess that, Nicholas Jackson rookie card here on the Purple Mojo. That's a nice one right there for Villarreal. But don't let somebody wear you down. If you know the value of your price and you haven't really got a lot of intrigue from that card that you're like, oh man, this should absolutely sell, don't go ahead and let somebody wear you down. If you feel confident with the card, or you're happy with the card, don't sell unless you absolutely have to. Don't let somebody wear you down is something I'd say that is important, because you're going to get people who are going to try to barter you to death. And again, it's like on the flip side, you know, for those people who are, you know, selling cards, right? You want to ask them the question too of how much do you need in order to make a profit, right? You have to understand that these people buying and selling cards, most of them are doing this for a living. That's their profession. They've got to make a profit, right? They have to put food on the table. I understand that. I don't want to get killed in the process, but you know, I also want to make sure that we can both win. And that's the thing, right? You want to make sure that you both win on that side. Oh, holy crap. Luka Modric on the Unstoppable. That is just a really nice insert card on the back. But you want to make sure you kind of both win. So ask, you know, what do you really need in order to make profit on this card? Be honest with them, right? Like, you'll find an honest conversation somebody's willing to have with you. You're going to find some sort of common ground. You're going to make the deal happen. And the item that I'll say is important, I probably made about 10 or 11 different deals with individuals, all different individuals over the weekend. There's only one person I didn't sell to that I spent probably 2 hours with. Now, something you don't see often with soccer cards, but you will see with other sports cards. When you're selling cards, a lot of times people are willing to pay you 70 to 80% of what the comp price is. And that's just kind of like they'll advertise that though. If you go to a I'm buying booth, or hey, I'm buying cards booth, they will advertise saying, hey, I'll pay 70 to 80% of what the value of this card is. And they'll have it advertised all over the place. Now again, so at that point, go into those, you know, those dens with your discretion because they're telling you what they're looking to buy those cards at. And, you know, it's kind of like you're going to a loan shark or you're going to a pawn shop. You know, I need some cash in order to make that deal. I really want this one more card. But, you know, I know I'm going to sell these at a cheap price, but I need the cash. So kind of understand that. Now, I feel like what's important is to ask, when you're making a deal is, okay, what are you looking to pay for some of these? Ask after. don't spend 2 hours at a table laying out all your cards, going through comp prices, you and the individual agreeing on the comp price, and then getting to the end of the conversation and the person telling you, well, I can give you about 70% of what the comp price is. Because what you do is you waste 2 hours of your time, which is, it's designed to be there is to be fun when you go to these card shows. So, don't get into the same spot like I was where you're just like, oh my God, I just spent 2 hours laying out cards. We all agreed on comps, and then you want to nickel and dime me at 70%, right? Like, for every other buyer, they're willing to pay near comp price. I'm not asking for above comps. I'm usually giving it to below comp price because I understand I'm not paying an eBay fee. When you're offering me 70 cents on the dollar, I'm just usually not interested in that. I'm happy to keep my cards. I'm not a person who's going to sell like one of those type of, buyers who will buy your card at 70% and then they'll mark it up 150% of what the actual card's value is and sell it to some other guy who's going around the table. So, ask and be a little bit more, I'd say, proactive with understanding maybe what a potential buyer is looking to pay. Right. And so for me, it was a catastrophe because I didn't know the comp. So I'm having to comp everything at the table in addition to this. And it's like, oh my gosh. So you waste so much time figuring out what they want. You waste time figuring out what the comps are. And then you waste time on trying to haggle the price for somebody who is, 30% off of what the average for that card sale was. So learn from my mistake. Ask a little bit earlier, right? Like if they say, hey, we're agreeing upon comp prices. Sure. So, are you looking to pay what, the comparable prices are for these cards sold? Or, what are you thinking on that? Just be a little bit more transparent. Ask that question. Maybe it saves you an hour or 2 hours worth of your time. And the other thing I'll mention is be careful of kids. And this is going to sound odd, but it's something I've noticed over the last 3 times I've been to these card shows. I like being able to cut kids, deals because it's the future of the collection, right? It's the future of the hobby. So I like being able to do that. Now, there's something always odd when, a kid goes up there and they're looking to buy a card, right? And you feel like you're doing them a solid, like, they come up and they ask you a few different times, hey, how much you looking to purchase? How much you looking to sell this card for? Ooh, Paulo Torre. And, they're kind of working out a price with you. And like, can we really do $20, right? It was a custom-made card of Kylian Mbappe, one of one. It was not like an affiliated card. I think I paid something like $40 for the card. But I saw that the kid was really a big Kylian Mbappe fan. At least that's what I thought, because he told me that. So I was willing to say, okay, I can give it to you at 30. And, he just over and over and over and over and over again. I sold it to him at like $25. I took a $15 loss on the card because I really thought the kid was a big Kylian Mbappe fan. Well, I go over to his little card table later on that evening, and this guy has got some $2,000 and $3,000 cards at his table that he's at there with trade night. And it's hard not to feel a little bit bamboozled where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm like, this kid's a mercenary. I was over here cutting him a deal because I wanted to help him out because I wanted to help the kids out. And you got $2,000 and $3,000 cards on the table. It's like, okay. So, it's tough. It's impossible to decipher. But like when you're dealing with kids, just kind of know, right? You want to help them out. You want to allow them to kind of feel the excitement that you felt, the childlike excitement of opening up a pack of cards. It's impossible for you to ever know, what type of cards they have at the table, but it does kind of sting a little bit where you're like, oh my gosh, I got nickel and dimed. I was happy keeping that custom-made Mbappe card, one of one for the end of time, and I sold it for $15 less than I bought it for, and I didn't want to really sell it. But yeah, so I think I've covered enough of that. But like, I'll also tell you this here, for kids too, they like the barter, and sometimes it's like, hey, I'm looking for this many dollars. I'm looking for $20 on this card. Well, can you, and by the way, when looking at these women cards, dude, I have no idea who any of these women's soccer players are. So, I may run across a big card, but I just don't know who it is. So I apologize about my, naivety, if that makes sense. But, sometimes, like, sorry, getting back on track there with talking about kids at these card conventions, you'll ask for $20 for the card, and you're giving it to them below comp price. And they'll start doing like, hey, can I give you $5 in this card too? Or can I give you $10 in this card too? It's hard because for the most part, I'm there to sell when I go to these little card shows. So it's tough to be like, yeah, let me go ahead and start taking on more cards as you're looking to go ahead and take a card for $5 and then you give me some raw card for it. So, just be careful. Just, you don't want to hurt a kid's feeling. You want to make sure that you kind of find the fine line, right? You want to make sure that you could still do what you need to do for your collection of cards, but you also want to make sure for the children that they still feel the excitement and they still feel how special it is to collect cards. So I hope I articulated that well. Big takeaway is just be careful when kids come running around. And you could feel, like you missed out on some, but you know what? That's okay at the end of the day. And, I'd say those are kind of some of the big ones, at least for when you're buying or you're selling and you go into one of these events. I really don't have too much else that I think I've learned at these events. But, the important thing is have fun while you're there. I mean, like for a lot of people, they travel from all different parts of the country to come to one of these events, right? Like they want to have a good time. Uh-oh, I've got some numbered cards, I think. No idea who that is. And who is this? I don't know. Queens of Football. I don't know. Is that numbered? I don't know, guys. Somebody who watches women's football is going to have to tell me what I've got, if I've got anything special on this. And I'm not even sure for these cards. They feel nice. I tell you one thing, Topps Chrome cards are just really nice when you're handling them. They're one of the nicer quality cards that you can find out there. Like them and Merlin are the nicest, at least from a grade perspective and the likelihood that things are going to come back good and in your favor. But, I'd say have fun while you're at these events too, guys, because it's easy to get caught up in the, oh man, I missed that deal, or this happened, that happened. Just enjoy yourself at the events because, you don't know how often you get to go to them. You don't know what future situations lie there for you. So have fun while you're at these events and, find yourself some good deals, smile along the way, and continue to have fun in the hobby. Beth Mead. Again, no idea who that is. But two more of these little packs here, and we'll be back to it. I'll say, if you enjoyed this content, this is not usually what I do, but let me know if you enjoy these type of, conversations more than sometimes the unboxings that I do. So leave me a comment if you like that type of style, because I'll make sure to do more of those videos. But, this will be, my show, one of the shows there for the week. So again, if you like the content, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and to like the video, and we'll be with you guys here real soon. Uh-oh, what is this? What is this? I don't know who that is. Oh, autograph. Who's this? Tell me that's a badass women's soccer player. Lindsay Horan. No idea. But I tell you, the design of the card's really nice. And no idea what this is. A crowning moments. Is it it's a special insert. There's only one of these in the box. So I don't know, guys. Kind of cool. Kind of cool to open up this product. I don't know any of the women's soccer players, and I just need to get rid of a whole bunch of these boxes that I had. Thanks so much, guys, for watching, and we'll be with you real soon.